Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel. I say good evening, but if you're certainly in Swindon or the surrounding areas, it's not very good. It's been raining all day, so it's supposed to be nice tomorrow, so hopefully. Just a couple of ticket news items. Cheltenham tickets, they go on general sale at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I think they have had a lot of sales, so it's get in there early if you need them. And Salford go on sale on Thursday at 10 a.m. on phone, online and in the shop. Prices for Salford, seating 19, standing 17 for adults. We've got 300 tickets, 150 standing and 150 seated. So that's on, it's in October, I think that one, isn't it? Sorry, I don't have the date for that one. And also, if you're a season ticket holder, you do get free admission to the women's game on Wednesday. It's a 7:45 kickoff, so it's under the lights, and I'm sure you will see some goals because they've been putting them in left, right, and centre. So they've been doing really well, the women. So that's good. So let's bring Vic on.
Hi, Chris.
Hello. You okay?
Yeah, very welcome to a very soggy Devon. I would say it's lovely and sunny here, but that will be a fib, quite frankly. 7:45 the women play on Wednesday. That's against Abingdon. And if you want to know how the women are doing, they're top of their league at the minute. They've played 6, won 6, a goal difference of plus 26 and 18 points. And in second place are AFC Bournemouth, who played 5, won 5 plus 20. They got 15. And Swindon are at Bournemouth on the 10th of November, and that will now be played at the Vitality Stadium, and tickets on sale for that on the 27th of September. So, goodness me, they're having a good start to the season. They won 4-0 on Saturday. Holly Beck-Essen got a goal, Annie Colston got a goal, and Caitlin Wall also got a goal. The development team beat Exeter 3-2. Elsie Clayton and Abby Hughes with 2 got the goals, and also the under-18s. What a start they've had to the season too. Youth Alliance South League won 3-1 at Cambridge. George Alston, Botan Amin and Abu Kanu on target. Now, SAS Travel, what news of them? Well, limited seats for Cheltenham. That's on the 12th of October. So need people to get in touch as soon as possible so they can gauge interest in a second coach. That leaves the county ground at 12 o'clock. Members 15, non-members £17. Tranmere on the 1st of October, still on sale for next Tuesday. Departs the county ground at 1:30 p.m. Members £28, non-30. And Salford is the 22nd of October, on sale from Thursday, this Thursday coming, leaves the county ground at 1 p.m. Members £28, non-members £30. And you can go phone bookings tonight, I think it is, Chris, isn't it? And then club shop, you can go and book in there as well for the rest of the week. So if we got the number, we can stick it up at some point.
Yes, that's it. Brilliant. Thank you, Vic.
Marvellous. You've frozen a little bit, Chris. Yeah. You've frozen just a little bit, Chris.
Let me bring everybody on then if I'm frozen.
Okay.
So let's bring James on. We've got Mark.
James.
We've got Mike. And we have Phil, Craig, and Steve.
Well, they haven't appeared as yet, but they'll be on, I'm sure, in a couple of moments. But
they will hopefully be on shortly.
Yeah. Just to remind you then that you can go to the county ground on Wednesday to see the women's team. 7:45 kickoff. Swindon Town WFC against Abingdon United WFC. And if you have a season ticket for the men's team, you can claim a free ticket for that one. 25th of October, 7:45, under the lights at the county ground. So, James, just you and me at the minute. So we might as well start the discussion and get it going, although Mark is joining us now. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
As is Mike. Hello. They're all coming along now nicely. Steve Clements is here. And joining us from sunny Scotland is Craig. Evening to you, Craig. And Phil is also here. So a whole host of people. Now, we've got a couple of newbies. Mark and Mike are both with us, I think, for the first time tonight. So, Mark, tell us about your Swindon Town supporting history.
Yeah, good evening, Vic, from a very soggy and wet Swindon. It's been raining here all day. So this is my 38th season of following Swindon. Started back in the mid-80s. Prior to that, my grandparents supported Swindon in the late 40s, 50s, 60s. My dad in the 60s and 70s. My journey started in the mid-80s under Lou Macari. And I'm now a season ticket in the Don Rogers stand with my family. So that's 4 generations of Swindon fans who have, a family have sort of supported the town.
Yeah, you had a pretty good start then. Did you always think it would be like that? We'd win every week and get promotion every season.
Do you know what? I think my first ever game was Notts County. We lost. That was on the 31st of August, 1986. We lost that game 2-1. I think Big Dave Bamber was sent off in that match. But I was hooked. I was hooked on the atmosphere. I've never seen anything like that before. But my dad said at the time, he said, you'll probably see the town lose more than they win. I'm not. So that sort of stuck with me. But here I am 38 years later, still supporting them.
Still going. Mike, what about you?
I actually started in the 1960s, would you believe? I know I don't look old enough to do that, but my dad started taking us probably around about 1967, 68, something like that. Took us for a few years. Then he lost interest. Also, I think I lost interest for a number of years in the 70s when you couldn't go anywhere without the hooligans element, and it just wasn't fun going to football. So I just watched it on TV for a while. A bit like Mark said, I actually made my return just before Lou Macari joined us, and I've been going ever since. I've tried to get my son involved. He came along for a couple of years, then he decided he wanted to go skateboarding instead. So now I sit in the old guys' enclosure just behind the home dugout in the Arkles and moan a lot. And I've been doing that for quite a few years now.
Do you know what? I think moaning a lot is what we can all do quite happily, really. I don't have any problem with moaning, quite frankly, as most of the people who know me will testify to. Right, let's go through the facts. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. It's lovely to have your company. And don't forget, we're also, if you're a female fan of Swindon Town and you want to come on the panel, we'd love more female representation. So please get in touch with us and let us know. Let's go through the facts then from Saturday. Swindon Town 0, Carlisle United 2, Sam Lavelle on 42 minutes, and then Luke Armstrong on 72 minutes. Half-time, it was 1-0 to the visitors. The crowd, 6,878. James, let's start with you. Those facts are pretty stark. Another home defeat. That's the third of the season. 1 win in 9 so far this campaign. What are your thoughts?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I'm usually a glass half full kind of person, but I must admit, this season's start has not gone down well. Okay, we won against Newport, but I think that was a poor Newport team, to be honest. I think there are definitely signs of improvement. I think Saturday, I could see what we were trying to do from a pattern perspective and tactics, but I think there was too many things that went wrong on Saturday. Poor marking, a goalkeeper that I don't know seems to have wobbles every other game now. I think the second goal was definitely his fault. The first goal probably he should have come for the ball and didn't command his box properly. And I think there were too many players that were off the pace. I don't think we really had a lot of energy like we did against Newport. We looked quite lethargic, I thought, and our passing was quite slow and cumbersome, and it just felt a little bit kind of, a bit back to the bad old days, really, to be honest, compared to Newport. And generally the crossing into the box, final ball, just no quality, really, really poor. You've only got to look at the fact that we had 15 chances on goal, I think it was, and I think we had 15 chances, 2 of them wrong on target. That's pretty poor, really, as a percentage. So I think, but there are signs of improvement, certainly. It's not all bad. Yes, came away feeling pretty down about the whole game, but there are some positives. I think that I I think will certainly help us in the coming games to probably play better and actually get some results, which we haven't looked like doing, certainly early part of the season.
Mark, can I put it to you? We were doing all right until the linesman incident, if I might put it like that. And then it all seemed to go pear-shaped. I mean, they obviously scored on 42 minutes, and then they did the usual. To me, it was a perfect away performance. There's a great picture of that free kick, isn't there, with 8 of them stood on the line. And when you watch them defensively, they had 5 in a line, and their shape was excellent all the way through the game, and so you just couldn't break them down.
Yeah, I agree. I think they were equal to everything we put forward. Take the set pieces out of the equation. I think a point would have been a fair result. They were certainly equal to anything we could sort of throw their way. Their defence was brilliant, I thought. Defensively, I mean, the set piece is clearly an issue. Conceded 1 from a corner, 1 from a free kick. And even like the execution of the corners, I think there was at least 3 occasions where we didn't even beat the first man. So, clearly there's some work to be done there on the training ground. But, full credit to Carlisle. I think they probably had a bit of a bounce with the new manager, and they certainly defended well.
Yeah. How did you feel going away, Mike? I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Pancake flat, as I think it's fair to say. Yeah, Collins made this point. 8 to 9 minutes of injury time allowed their manager to reset and reorganise. I think that is a point, isn't it, Mike? That that linesman incident did sort of disrupt the flow of the game, but Carlisle played to their game plan and came away with the points.
I think they changed their game plan in that 10-minute break, actually. I think they realised where we were dangerous and we were getting at them. And they came out and they did a fantastic job on us. They blocked the gaps that we were playing through in those first, I don't know how many minutes it was before the linesman decided there was something wrong with him. I think in terms of the overall, and it's not for the first time in the last 2 seasons, my mind was wandering in the second half. And I wasn't angry. I wasn't apathetic about it. I was just confused, completely confused. And I'll tell you what, my mind was wandering so much that halfway through the second half, I started Googling the menu at Fratello's to pick out the pizza I was going to have in the evening. And I've never done that before. And I thought I'd tell myself off for it. But I was utterly confused, as I have been watching most of our games this season. We don't seem to have too much of an idea what we're doing and how to change things on the pitch. And I got even more confused yesterday. I sat down and thought, right, okay, how do I really feel about this? And I listened back to Mark Kennedy's post-match interviews for the past 3 or 4 games. And I don't think listening to that and having seen that, I don't know if anyone else saw the video of him when he was mic'd up on the training ground a couple of weeks ago. I don't think I'm the only one that's confused. I think a lot of our players are confused as well. I don't think they're taking it in. I don't think they know where they need to be, how they need to move around, who they need to pick up at set pieces. I just wonder whether what his very technical approach to it, and I applaud Andrew Hawes for listening to it when he interviews him, because he goes off on one talking about all these technical aspects of the game that just go way over my head. But then we still let a guy have a free head from 3 yards out from a set piece. Surely we must practice that. Surely we have to practice that. I'm just beginning to feel apathetic. And I hate that feeling. I'm not angry. I'm not really emotional about it. I'm just apathetic about it. And I don't want to feel that when I pay 400 quid a year to watch my team play. I don't want to feel that.
Okay. Steve, I mean, I know you've got other things to worry about at the minute in terms of small children, which is perfectly excusable. And congratulations, by the way. Hope all was going well. I know you watched it on the telly, I think, didn't you?
I did. I was looking to
what
see
did you think?
Well, like Mike said, I'm a bit nonplussed by it all, really. And again, Mike's alluded to the interviews that Mark's made. If I remember correctly, Mark was saying he tells the players what to do, but when they're on the pitch, they're not doing it. They've got to take their own ownership. They've got to make their own minds up on it. But there's no, whether they haven't got the footballing nous or the know-how, whether there's nobody on that field barking out the orders. I don't know. There's something missing there. They look confused. Well, should I be stood here or should I be stood over there? Who am I marking that man? It doesn't seem to be. They don't seem to be taking ownership or just reading the game in front, because for all the world they can do all the training on a Monday to Friday, but come the Saturday it's a completely different ball game. So they're not reading the game. And yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to go to the Newport game last week, and I think Swindon was good as Newport was bad. The reaction from the away fans told you that when about 30 or 40 of them decided to leave at half time and sit on the cricket pitch, waiting for the bus to go home. And I've never known a standing ovation at half time for a team. That was like wow, and it was great. But they had it. There was something about that match that made that first 45 minutes, whatever they had in their pre-match meal or whatever, they're up for it, and you could tell that from the minute go. But no, it was back to the lackluster. Put a cross in. If somebody's in there, great. Well, oh no, it's gone out for a throw on the other side, and oh no one's not sure who they're going to be passing it to. It just seemed very disjointed again. And yeah, Mark Kennedy, I don't think he's been to every game this season, because he's seeing something completely different. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, well, what are you watching? Where are you coming from? Because quite a few of the fans have come to me and said, well, he's not really seeing the games that we're watching. So, no, it just needs to be all joined up. It just seems very disjointed already. And we're, 6 weeks in, as you were saying, 6 weeks into the season. Here we are already sort of looking over our shoulders in 18th, 19th place in the league and hoping for the best.
Well, let's have a look at that league then. 20th place is Harrogate, who we've got in a couple of weeks' time. Played 7, minus 4 goal difference, 0.7. 21st, Swindon. 21st. Played 7, minus 3 and 6 points. Carlisle, 22nd. 7 played, minus 6 goal difference, 6 points. And the bottom two, Accrington, with 3 points from 7 games and minus 8 goal difference. And then come Morecambe, foot of the table, 1 point from 6 games, minus 5 goal difference. And Morecambe played tonight. They're at Fleetwood, I think, at 8 o'clock, aren't they? So they make up that game in hand. Craig, obviously you're in Scotland. I know you come down quite a lot. You didn't come down on Saturday. How are you feeling? Because let's be honest, you get up at a ridiculous hour of the morning to travel down from Glasgow or wherever it is. And then is that becoming harder, or are you still finding the enthusiasm?
First of all, your comment about having more women on the panel, I think that's really important. Secondly, we look like the world's worst kind of boy band. But gentlemen, we've all been in those relationships where you start to, your eye starts to wander. Last Saturday, with my wife, I must add, we went to watch Inverness, and that took about 3.5 hours. So that's like getting from here down to, say, Preston or Salford or something. And I was kind of absentmindedly just checking in on the score. I just don't. I'm not enjoying it. I mean, I've full disclosure, I've been to 3 games this season. Notts County at home, Crewe, and Chesterfield away. And I've just done the maths. We've played 630 minutes of football. So that's 10.5 hours. And we've mustered 20 minutes of good football, I think, in that time, haven't we? I mean, I've seen the kind of highlights. And I'm kind of, there's a lack of identity. I'm finding it hard to identify with a team that I don't know what their plan A is. We talked a few years ago about not having a plan B. I don't think we've got a plan A, frankly. It feels a bit like we're the victims of some kind of complicated cyber attack, because it just doesn't feel like our Swindon. So very disappointed. I'll probably be down for Harrogate at home or something ridiculous. And it's pathetic, isn't it, that we're, Harrogate at home is a 6 points already. So yeah, disappointed, despondent, not enjoying it. I'll keep going because, like the rest of us watching, we care, and we will turn up even when it's rubbish, which is why football as a business isn't like any other business, is it? But I think I just don't feel, I'm not feeling the love this year, frankly.
Okay, well, we'll get on to we've got loads of comments coming in, but we'll get on to them after Phil. Phil, I mean, how long have you been watching the town? I'm just trying to. I'm not saying
52 years.
how many.
52 years.
Yeah, just around about, just shorter than me. So I'll let you off. I mean, we all go through peaks and troughs and things like that, but we're 21st in League Two, and that's kind of depressing, don't you think?
It is, especially as I actually think the players we got this season are better than last season's squad. And I have to say that it's the manager is not deploying his resources effectively. Somebody mentioned about they just seemed to not really know what he wanted. Many years ago, Brian Hamilton, the old Northern Irish player, did a bit of coaching at Swindon, and I sat in on a session that he was doing. The players didn't understand a word he was saying. He just going on and on and on. A number of the players, their eyes were rolling, look at me thinking, indicating what the hell is he going on about? And I think with Mark, he's got the Irish gift of the gab, but I'm not sure that he's getting through to the players.
I mean, you would have been going, when I was, and the 80s have been mentioned when we were getting crowds of 2,000, 3,000.
Yeah.
But to me, Phil, the worrying aspect is the way the crowds have dropped off in the first few weeks of the season, quite dramatically.
I expected them to be lower this season after last season. In fact, I thought they'd be lower than they are. And I thought the Newport game would have attracted some back. But I worked it out on Saturday. I think it's only about 400 more there on Saturday than there were for the Newport game in terms of home supporters. So, they're still holding in there. I will keep going regardless, but I am just totally frustrated. Shamanga, he doesn't make an effort to challenge the centre halves. When I was at college, I was coached by a player called Hugh Curran, the ex-Wolves player, and he was a short forward to being a centre, to play up the front for Wolves, and he told me that he was instructed. You always jump early if you're up against a bigger centre half, so he doesn't get a clean head. It goes off the top of his head, and he can't head it out. Shamanga made no effort to challenge the centre half for high balls. So immediately we were lacking that area. We have no split pace down the right of the field. King, who I've thought has put in some reasonable displays this season, was caught out with his pace on Saturday, and he just could not get up and down the field. We've got nobody there. I'd love to see McGregor in there. At least when he played last season, he could break very quickly, he could win tackles, and he had a football head on his head.
Okay, well, we'll try and not be so doomy and gloomy later, but I think the general mood is one of frustration after Saturday. That's the one I took away from it anyway, because, to see what the club where we are at the minute doesn't make anybody happy. And if it makes somebody happy, then quite frankly, I don't know what's wrong with you. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the comments. Hi, Hannah. The players have been brought in, are good players. They just can't seem to play together. Mark Kennedy seems like he doesn't have plan B. Marcus Bignot just stands there shouting. Players look confused. Lee says, unfortunately, I can see us going through the trap door. Can't see any other solution. And Sean says about the crowds, they've dropped off after pay on the day prices were dropped. You can't get tea or coffee in the Legends. Shamble, says Malcolm. Good evening from just off the coast, Italy, in our cruise. Lovely. I hope it's nice and sunny there. Watch the game on our ship. Don't come to us with your problems. Awful performance. You can't see it getting any better. I'm sorry to say. It's all about the metrics, the data, and the process, says Knighton. Fingers crossed we will improve, says Sean. Dear some of the panel, please do not try to defend the indefensible. Spot on, Mike. Stats don't win games. Well, let's talk about stats, James. This is a sort of a quote. Really happy with everything Swindon do. Possession based, final third entries, crosses, shots. If we were ugly and a 30% possession team and score a goal and hold on to nick a 1-0, I don't think we're going to go very far. If you did that on 46 games, you might win the title. I don't know. I'm just a simple bloke. Expected goals, final third entries, blah, blah, blah. The only stat I ever look at is how many goals we get and how many goals the other team get. Am I wrong?
No, and I think League Two is all about whatever you need, however you need to play in order to get out of League Two. That's how you need to play. And I honestly thought when we brought in a different style of player at the beginning of the season, I thought I thought that kind of light bulb moment had basically kind of occurred. And all of a sudden, you've got Delaney, you've got Wright, you've got other players that are League Two traditional players. I honestly thought we were going to try and get out the league in the way that other clubs have done over the last couple of years by playing how League Two teams play. But I don't know. It's just I think we've got the players to get out of this league. I really do. But I agree with a lot of what other people have said. I think there's just, I don't know. It's just they're just not gelling. And I do agree with a few people where they've said the players don't seem to understand the orders they're getting. And I think the manager definitely has got the gift of the gab, as has already been mentioned. If you took him on his interviews, you'd think, crikey, this is a Premier League manager. But unfortunately, the players are just not getting it. And maybe that is the problem. Maybe he is, obviously he played in the top leagues when he was at Wolves and various other teams, Man City, etc. And maybe he's expecting, to be able to bark and give them orders like Premier League players. But actually, these are League Two players. Maybe they just don't get it, or they can't do what he's asking them to do. In which case, he just needs to go back to the basics, in my view, because the way he does speak sometimes. I agree with what's been said. It sounds good, but actually, does it make sense? No, not a great deal of time. So if I can't understand it, and the guys here can't understand it, you can't understand it, Vic, then there's no hope, is there, for footballers? I wouldn't have thought. So yeah, it's I just think we need to go back to basics, and I'm already thinking, is Mark Kennedy the right manager or head coach for us? And that's quite sad when we're only 5 or 6 games in.
Yeah, you said that even if I can't understand it, I'm a fairly simple chap, though, to be fair. And Mark, you started watching The Town in the days of Lou Macari. His football, I think, at best was kind of, well, it was rudimentary, wasn't it? I mean, it was, it wasn't the most attractive style of football in the world, but effective. Let's be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first few games of the season, I think we were we were doing the long ball a lot more, looking for Smith, who was, for me, was heading it totally in the wrong area of the pitch, getting the ball. And I don't particularly like that style of play. If we could take what we've learnt from the Newport game, where there was some flashes there of some really brilliant sort of attacking play, crossfield balls were going. We seem to sort of, that style of play is probably what, most fans would sort of turn out and watch. The long ball's not pretty, but does it get it out of the division? That's that's it. I think I'd take a 30% possession and a 1-0 win any day over, a 2-0 defeat.
Yeah, this is from another Mark Merriman. Hi, Mark. I'll start you off. Mark Kennedy keeps saying, trust in the process. What if the process isn't working? Also, questions for Clem Morfuni. What's the latest on ground redevelopment and the training ground? And what are you going to do about the 3,000 fans you've lost since August 2021? Your business model isn't working. Thanks, Mark. Well, whenever we get a chance to ask those questions, we will do that. Football at our level is simple: pace in wide areas, crosses into the box, and 5 or 6 attacking the ball. Simple. Mike, the crossing to me on Saturday, it's English football generally has a problem with crossing, but it was particularly bad on Saturday, wasn't it?
To my eyes, we seem to be hitting the ball far too early Saturday, which we haven't done in previous games. I mean, we certainly didn't do that in the first half against Newport. We seem to be hitting the ball at far too sharp an angle far too early. Now, whether that was part of the process and they were told that's what they've got to do, or whether they were just struggling to get past the last man to get to the byline, because in Cox we've got someone who, when he beats a player and he gets to the byline, he generally puts in a pretty decent cross.
Yeah.
But Saturday, even the times that he did it, we didn't really seem to be attacking the ball in any way, shape, or form. And again, it was almost that. Oh well, I don't really know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to stand over here. Can I just come back to that quote that you raised, Rick, about Mark Kennedy's 30% possession and win 1-0? He wouldn't want us to do that. I can think of 500-ish Carlisle supporters who went home Saturday night absolutely delighted that their team did exactly.
Yeah.
And can we also mention his brilliant quote after the Barrow game, that he was really glad that we didn't pepper their goalkeeper with shots from outside the box after they brought on that little lad who was an outfield player. And the first chance we got was a 35-yard free kick, which the goalkeeper had got sent off for handling it, and we didn't even test him out. I mean, those two quotes from Kennedy, they go down to me in the annals of all time. Crazy quotes associated with this club, which goes all the way back to Paolo Di Canio's League One Where's quotes. And those bonkers interviews that used to have. I listened to that interview 3 times over, and I got more angry when he's the way that he was talking about. He doesn't want us to be a team that plays out of possession and wins 1-0. I'd be delighted for us to win 1-0. I'd be delighted for us to win 1-0 and it goes in the 96th minute off Chimanga's backside. I don't care how we score.
Yeah.
I just look like we want to do it and we really have a go at teams. And when we do, unfortunately, we aren't going to come up against a depleted, very poor, lacking players through suspensions and injuries, Newport County every week. We're going to come up against a lot better sides. And, everybody says that you should wait 10 games and see how it goes. Well, we're perilously close to those 10 games now. And the 3 games that are going to take us to those 10 games are damn difficult. We could be very lucky to get 3 points out of those 10 games. Then we'll be at 10 games. Then can we have a different decision?
Well, the next one, of course, is at Port Vale, one that has its own particular history of recent times. They are in 9th place, played 7, goal difference 1, points 11. Then on Tuesday, the 1st of October, we're all looking forward to this. Tranmere away. They're in 16th place at the minute. They've got 8 points from their 6 games. So, Steve, I mean, I don't want to be the doom-monger here, and I really, I go to every Swindon game hoping we're going to win. I really want us to win at Vale Park on Saturday for a lot of reasons. I think every Swindon fan wants that, don't they? And if they don't, I'm sorry, but you don't really feel it like the rest of us do, and they weren't there at Vale Park that night. That's all I can say.
Well, if you are going on Saturday, thank that Port Vale fan for the bottle of Fanta that came my way after the game. It went down a treat.
Yeah.
No, I just win by any means necessary. Just I don't like this tippy-tappy football. I can't abide it. We're not Manchester City. Let's not play like that. We're Swindon Town in League 2. Let's not try and do things that we can't. Let's just get the basics and fill the box up. I'm screaming at the telly on Saturday, and I was at the Newport game. There's nobody busting a gut to get in the box, and they almost look too frightened to shoot at times, and they just think, oh no, I'll pass it to somebody else. I won't have a go from. It might fly on someone's knee and go in the back of the net. Just have a go. If you've been told one thing in the change room, it's not working for yourself. Just win the ball, do your job, win the ball, play it up the field. And, do you know what I mean? It's not hard. But no, I mean, Port Vale probably a bit tricky on Saturday. They're a decent side this season. They've come back down again, and you tend to thinking, well, where's our next win going to come from? And I'm being realistic. The next 3 games, and the Tranmere on Tuesday night, that's not a pretty place to go. It's looking a bit bleak, and you're in October. You think, crikey, we really are sort of. I know it's October, and it's not May, but you start to wonder what effect it will have on the players and whether they really have got the impetus to sort of drive on it and change it. Then in January, let's bring in a whole load of new players. Well, once they come into a League Two relegation fight. Do you know what I mean? It's the same old nonsense every season at the moment since the playoffs. You know, we bring in a whole load of new players, hope they gel over the summer, and then hope for the best again. And then no, that doesn't work. We sack the manager, and then we'll get new players. And it's that constant bomb, and it's just getting tiresome now. I don't think Swindon Town know which hole to come out of at the moment. That's what it appears to me. They just seem to be stuck in this rut of just churning over the same nonsense year in, year out at the moment. And and the frustrations are there for all the fans to see, and they're voting with their feet. They're not going anymore. They can't put up with it. Just buck your ideas up. Do you know what I mean? It's getting to that point now. It's just enough's enough, and it's not pretty. It's not funny anymore. Come on, we've been spoilt in the 90s and in the 80s with what we had. We had lots of Glenn Hoddle here, for God's sake. We're no disrespect to the current town crop, but a patch on what we had in those days. So. Let's start showing that we care. Let's start playing. And, if you're not sure what to do, just play your own game. And if you can do it, do it. You know what I mean? It's just, it's frustrating. But no, I can't see us getting a win on Saturday, sadly, as much as I'd like 3 points. But yeah, no joy on Saturday, I don't think.
Well, the fans will be passionate, Craig. I think there's no doubt about that. Let's hope the team is as well on Saturday. Of course, not many of them were here during those days, so they won't know what the back history is. But, I'm not advocating over-passionate amongst the fans, by the way. We just dearly love to see a good result there. All our issues, Steve says, all our issues start at the top. Sooner Clemsdale's the better. Carlisle have got new owners, and I'm jealous at what they have done already. New training ground and facilities. We can't even have a clock cleaned or new signage above the club shop. What's your thoughts, Craig, when you finally arrive in Swindon from that far north place and you get there? What are your thoughts? Are you excited about it? I mean, there is still a small child in me that sort of arrives a little bit of excitement, but that little bit of excitement is kind of waning just a little bit.
Yeah. I think the small child inside me has long since gone. My first thought is let's get to the front of the bar of the County Ground Hotel, and then I kind of center myself, and then I prepare myself for what's to come. As I said, I'm falling out of love with the club that I love this year. I've got 4 things. I'll be quick because there's a lot of us today. First thing is, I think that our ownership and our management team need to take responsibility for their failings. In other jobs, you have to do that. I was reminded very much when I was listening to Stephen Naismith's press conference after Hearts got pumped again at the weekend. Of course, Naismith was sacked on Sunday, and there's a complete abdication of any sense of responsibility for the decisions that he was making that caused their run, which is as bad as ours. The second thing, I think, is he overcoaching them? Is it? I mean, I used to coach under 12s, under 13s, and the thing that I was always told is just tell each player one thing because that's all they'll remember. And I wonder, I think we play better away from home, and whether that's part of it, whether the kind of pre-match routine for an away game is in their heads less. I wonder whether that's an issue. I am concerned if a beauty parade is a celebration of a foregone conclusion of us going up, then I'm concerned that this season is going to turn into an ugly parade, and I'm worried. Our last 2 games are Gillingham away and MK Dons at home. I've got the sports club fixture list in front of me on the wall. I'm looking ahead now to those 2 games in March against Accrington Stanley away and Morecambe at home at the end of March. We need to win those. And my final thing is somebody mentioned about the lack of tea and coffee at the Legends Lounge. I've been to 88 games this season, Vic. And on only 3 occasions was there no Bovril. One was New Mains United in the West of Scotland League Division 4, which is basically a park pitch. And the other 2 times were the county ground. And I just think that, it's symptomatic of this lack of care that, there's going to be 6,000 people turning up, probably less now in future. And a lot of them are going to want a cup of tea and a Bovril, and you do your ordering. So is the cash flow that bad? Why these basic things that the club that we love and we're passionate about? If any one of us had that privilege to run the ship, we'd get these things right, wouldn't we? And that's why I'm feeling heartbroken. I'm not, and we're all supporters, and I don't like this kind of happy clapper stuff, and I think we've got more in common than divides us. But I mean, I'm just, the stuffing's being slowly torn out of me this season, and I just want us to win, to get those 2 games against Accrington Stanley and Morecambe win in March, and let's get it over and done with, and just go again next year, and hopefully things are a bit better. That's how I'm feeling.
Phil, how are you feeling now? I mean, this is a therapy session, to be fair, and it is most Mondays these days, apart from last week, which is great, because we talked about a win. It was fabulous, and we could all be very happy. But we are having a lot of therapy sessions at the minute.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, it is that frustration that there is some potential on the field, but it's not being harvested. I'd look at his subbing on Saturday. It didn't make sense, some of the substitutes he brought on and the ones he took off. Cottrell, who I think has improved significantly since the beginning of the season. He always gave you a little bit of hope that he could do some trickery. They take him off when we're chasing the game. I'm a big fan of Offerbore. He hasn't been played in his main position by this manager. He's been playing him out of position, and he says, go on loan. No, they've changed their mind. They want him to stay. But it's things like that you're losing confidence in the management. And it's hard after 6 games or whatever it is to be talking about that. But I really want to support a manager that can stay at this club.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
But as we've gone over and over the comments he's been making about matches, you just wonder whether he actually does attend the games or whether he's over the cricket ground while the game is on, because I don't recognise the game at all. And so if he's relaying that sort of information to the players, great, possession, all this, you outdid them all, crazy. When are we going to learn to shoot? Yeah.
Well, you were on the bus coming back from Barrow, weren't you? And I think that interview was played, and the reaction on the bus coming back from Barrow because you were on it.
But Butterworth, he frustrates me. The number of times on Saturday he had chances to shoot, and he would pass it. He's shooting, he can do, but he doesn't do it. The Barrow keeper not to be tested was, nothing short of criminal. And Saturday, I don't think their keeper was that good, but we didn't test him. The pressure. You look at the number of goals that get scored from deflections. If you shoot, you've got a chance of deflections. If you don't shoot and just pass it wide and then cross it to our midgets in the middle of the forward line, wasted. So frustrated, but I want to see them have somebody to lead them that can use the talent that I believe is in the club now.
James, Phil just made a very good point. I mean, I think 40 managers, interim and caretaker and permanent, since the year 2000. 40. Just let that sink in. Wouldn't it be lovely to think that Mark Kennedy was here for 4 or 5 years? He was building a club. The progress was substantial, and we could all see that. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, I'm just putting that as somebody who would love to see stability at our football club for once. 40 managers since the year 2000. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's downright shocking, to be perfectly honest. I didn't actually realise it was that bad until you said. I mean, I knew it was a lot, but that is ridiculous. It really is. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think if you know you've got the right person in charge, they're not necessarily going to get it right the first year, but generally, second year, if you look at the stats, I mean, there's been a number of managers. You've only got to look at the Mansfield situation. It's taken, they've had a good budget. It's taken them a few seasons to build a decent team to get out of League Two. But I think the problem we've got is, I think we're all saying that we don't think at the moment, from what we've seen and heard, that actually Kennedy's the right person. I'm very much in favour of sticking with the manager, giving him the tools to do his job, and ultimately letting him do his job to the best of his ability. But I honestly don't think, from what I've seen so far and what I've heard, I think, again, without putting words in everyone's mouth here, it feels like everyone's pretty much in the same of the same opinion, and that's really sad. 6-7 games in, I honestly thought, I was really positive when they got him on board. You know, okay, there's always some negatives from previous teams that managers have come from, but then generally, you know, that's you get the same thing with players, don't you, when they join? But I honestly thought in his early interviews, you know, the blokes seemed to speak common sense, which some of our managers in the last few years haven't. I could understand what he was trying to say, but as we've already said, it doesn't seem to be. You know, he speaks a good game, but it doesn't. It's not coming to fruition on the pitch on a Saturday, is it? And that's the problem. So, you know, I don't necessarily think we should give him. I don't necessarily think we should sack him immediately. But I honestly believe if after 12, 13 games, so a couple months' time, if we're not seeing any, or very, if we're not seeing a decent amount of improvement, then I'm afraid it's probably goodbye Mark Kennedy for me.
Well, Paul says Kennedy's here for 18 months. He won't be going anywhere. Chopping and changing every 6 months doesn't work, as has already been proven, unfortunately. And Mark, that is a good point, isn't it? I mean, you can't keep doing it. I mean, we had Jody Morris. We've had Ben Garner, who decided to leave of his own accord. We've had all these managers come in and go and come in and go. And here we are, 21st in League Two. It doesn't work. You can't keep changing managers, can you?
Stability is the word.
Yes. And we all thought that's what we were craving in the summer, wasn't it? Stability.
Yep.
And I think the squad are young. They've only played 7 games together. I know, looking at the home results, we've obviously played 4. We've only won 1. Doesn't look great. The metrics don't look great, but we've got 39 games left this season. I'm really hoping in the next couple of games they're going to click and start to see the process, the metrics work. There's a lot of data insight there. They sort of Mark Kennedy talks about, and that for me is a bit of a disconnect with the fans, because the fans is very much the emotion, the passion, following your team. So talking about processes and data and insight, completely different language to what the football fans following the club feel, and that doesn't really come through. But I'm prepared to sort of give it time. We can't keep chopping and changing. 39 games left this season. It's still early days.
Yeah, let's have a look. Claire says, need to shoot to have a chance of scoring a goal. Drilling just walked around when he came on, hid behind the defenders, never challenged for anything. Better off leaving him on the bench. Why should we expect stability and growth as a club with the current ownership? We need to be holding Clem accountable. I think the players here are at the club. I feel Kennedy is not the man for the job. Why did some of them go? More to it than meets the eye, says Malcolm. Kennedy tried and tested these figure stats in the past. Loads of comments, so thank you very much. We won't get to all of them. I do apologise. This is from Lawrence, and an interesting point, this, Mike. Couldn't catch a cold. I do 200 miles round trip every home game, and I'm sick of the same rubbish. What's your thoughts on that particular comment?
I don't do 200-mile round trip because actually it's dark here. But if I look out of that window, I can't quite see the ground. But if I go onto my next door neighbour's balcony, I can see my seat in the Arkle. So I don't do a 200-mile round trip. I do a 10-minute walk tops. If I was doing a 200-mile round trip, I think I'd be thinking about finding something else to do on a Saturday, to be quite honest at the moment. I want to go. We always pose the same question to ourselves when we're sitting there. when was the last time this team got you off your seat? And how many times in the last 2 seasons have they got us off our feet?
Well, last Saturday, I'll give you last Saturday because that was first 25 minutes last Saturday. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many times in the last 2 seasons?
No, I'm struggling.
Have we actually, and I know I always get shot down in flames because I know he's spent the family's silver, and I know that we've been paying for it ever since. But I'd love to see Paolo Di Canio back running us because I think with this team we've got some really good players. And I think every single one of us at the start of the season looked at these signings and said, you know what? We have the right blend of players now. We have the right type of players. On their day, the 11 that took the field on Saturday, I'd have every single one of them in my squad on their day. Something's going wrong between them coming to play for us and going right on the pitch. And there's only one common denominator in that. It's what they're being told to do. And Paolo used to make it so simple. And to be fair, Richie Wellens did as well. When he was with us, he made it. I mean, he had all the stats and the metrics and everything in his head. But when we went out on the pitch, you could tell that every single player knew exactly what they needed to do. I mean, it was easy for Richie Wellens. He just said, well, just give the ball to Owen Doyle and he'll score. But hey, we kept doing it and it kept working. And other sides couldn't work us out. We just seemed to be far too predictable, far too... We're devoid of any inspiration. That's the bit that I see missing. And it's the bit that somebody does something that makes you just jump out of your seat for sheer joy. We all live for those moments, and we've just had not enough of them the last 2 years. And the one last comment I'd make is, I'm not defending him, but Clem Morphoney doesn't pick the team. Clem Morphoney doesn't play centre forward. He's at the root of a lot of things that are wrong with this club. But the last 2 managers we've had have both said at the end of the transfer window they were happy with their squad, and we were happy with their squad. It's gone wrong on the pitch. And to be honest, that's the only thing I care about.
Well, Steve, I think that's another point, isn't it? And it's something I said to Clem Morphoney when he was over here before. I said the only thing that really matters to most of us is what happens at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Everything else follows on. If you get the results right on the pitch, then that really helps, keep everything else happy as well. And we seem to be stuck in this, I don't know, this cycle of being ever now sort of an established 4th division football club, now 21st. And I hate it.
Well, Mike made a good point. And I remember Paul Caddis interview on BBC Radio Wiltshire a few seasons ago now. He said to him, he just knew where his teammate was on the pitch. He knew exactly where to pass the ball. If he had it, he knew that. I forget who it was. It might have been Hunt or somebody on the wing. Someone was that he knew exactly where they were. He didn't have to look up. He just heard his voice. And now they're clueless. Well, are they there? Somebody there? Oh, hang on. So there was that consistency under Wellens, as Mike was saying. So they just knew, and it was basic, and it was great. And but now it's just too confusing. It's too muddly. It's just there is a lot of misguidance. I generally don't know what it is. I mean, I think they all come to Swindon Town and think, oh yeah, it's a great club. They've done this, they've done that in the past, and then it's like, there's something. They've been Swindonized. Something happens to a good player. They come in and it just doesn't, for whatever reason, connect. It doesn't work, and then they're gone in a year's time, and you forget about them, and a whole new crop come in. I don't know. I heard this is the atmosphere in the club, whether I generally don't know what the issue is at the moment, and I'd love to sort of know. I mean, how many of these players were Mark Kennedy signings? How many has he actually brought to the club himself? How many players? I fancy that one. Let's go and get him. How many of those players are actually Mark Kennedy signings? I know he said, "Oh, I know Kilkenny," which is brilliant. I think he's a great player and probably will go on to a better club in January, if not before. Well, he can't go, obviously, but do you know what I mean? He's not going to be here much longer. And same with Cox. I think he's going to be, quite a few people will be sniffing around for him in January if he keeps on these good displays. But I do generally wonder how many of those signings are Mark Kennedy signings.
Well, whenever we get a chance to ask those questions, Steve, we will ask them.
Absolutely, I look forward to the answers. But I just don't know. Whether he gets this is the list. We've identified X, Y, Z. Whether he has that final say or not, I'd like to think so. And he's obviously confident with what he's got, and the tools he's been given with. But square peg, round holes at the moment, really.
Okay, let me read you this. This is from Richard. No offence intended, gents, but I've never been more down after listening to the OSC chat on a Monday evening. Well, I agree with almost every word. Something is badly wrong at STFC, and no one seems to have a plan. This goes far, far wider than discussions about the manager. We're in trouble, aren't we? Are we in trouble, Craig?
First of all, hello, Rich. Rich is just up the road from me near Stirling, another one of the Scottish Swindon supporting fans. See you soon, Rich. Playing devil's advocate, right? If Mr. Morfuni or Mr. Hall or Mr. Kennedy are watching this, they'd say, trust in the process and be patient. In fact, Mark Kennedy keeps saying this, doesn't he? Trust in the process. Okay. We have done that. We're now 7 games into the season. This is relegation form. And I think in the world of football, I think, other supporters and observers will be surprised if Swindon Town are relegated. But frankly, I wouldn't be this season or next. It just seems inevitable, and then perhaps we'll re-emerge and we'll come back. But I just honestly, I'm not going to cheer you up, Rich. But I mean, I can't see any other conclusion than we get worse and worse every year, or we continue to get worse this season, and we get relegated, and then we spend 10 or 15 years bimbling around the lower leagues, and then come back. Like a kind of a wonderful swan that sails through the divisions again, and it may, that may be beyond some of our lifetimes. But I mean, I just can't see that we've got the infrastructure in place to build upwards now. I think we're kind of failing. Yeah, we're just failing. We're failing downwards. So nothing positive to say there whatsoever, I'm afraid.
Phil, right, we're going to start. We've got 3 minutes left. So I'm going to start on the let's be positive moment, because otherwise we'll all go into the rest of the Monday evening drinking something quite strong that is made in Scotland. So, Phil, start us off. What can we be positive about?
That we've got the basis of a squad that with good management, we could go up the table. And I believe that firmly. So that there is the frustration. And the good news is I can't go to Port Vale on Saturday. That means you'll win. And so I'm stuck in Cornwall at an 80th birthday party.
Oh.
When I much prefer to be at Vale Park.
Well, enjoy yourself the other side of a tamer. I'll kind of wave a bit way away, but I'll wave. James, give me something to be positive about then. We've got Port Vale Saturday, Tranmere away on Tuesday, and then Harrogate, the mighty Harrogate, a week on Saturday. Be positive about it.
Oh my gosh. I agree with Phil's positivity around the squad. I think we've got a good set of players. But yeah, I think they're not being utilised and they're not being coached, or they're not being given the instructions upon which to show what they can do. You've only got to look at our club captain. When we brought him in, everyone was like, "Oh, brilliant!" One of the best players in League Two. Been amazing for Mansfield. They couldn't quite believe that they'd let him go. And I don't know about everyone else here, but I've not seen a player in him since he joined us this season. I don't know what it is when they come to Swindon, but But trying to get back on the positive spin, we've got amazing fans. I'm amazed as well that our attendances are even in the 6,000s. I thought they were going to be in the 5,000s. If I was honest, given we've only got 4,000 season ticket holders this season. So the fact that we're getting in the 6s, I know we've had a couple of big attendances from away fans, including on Saturday, but we're still getting 6,000 home fans ultimately. So that's a positive, and I think it's amazing that people are sticking with us, to be perfectly honest. And long may it continue, but I worry that if we carry on like we are, it won't, and we will be down into the 5,000s. So, but I think thinking positively, a good bunch of players. If something clicks, if someone gets injured and we actually put a player in, and actually they do really well, something small like that can change a season. So I think we've just got to think positively, and really as fans, we've just got to stick together and keep on supporting the team as much as we can. Whatever people's views are on off field and everything else, the management, we just need to get behind the team and carry on supporting them, because we could end up being relegated if we're not careful.
Mark?
So, young squad. There's some really exciting prospects there. I really like McGurk, Kilkenny. I think if we can get them to really sort of gel as a team, then I think it's onwards and upwards this season. Yeah.
Mike?
Something positive from the last 2 or 3 games, actually. There's one thing I think we've done really well, which has kind of got lost amongst all the negativity. But I noticed it particularly on Saturday. We were really good at closing them down when they got the ball and not letting them get out and winning the ball back. If there's one thing that Kennedy's put into this side that they're remembering and they're putting into practice, is that, because we did it time and time again on Saturday. We did it against Newport and it led to goals. That's a real positive for me. There's probably 3 or 4 players that pretty much stand out for me. I think so far Soberwale's been absolutely fantastic for me. I loved watching the guy play, and I think he's going to be a big star for us. But I think that one thing that we have done really well, what we've got to do now is we've got to do something positive with it when we've won it back off of them.
Steve?
It's September. We care. That's about it really at the moment. For me, I think. I didn't get a season ticket this year, so that's a positive for me. But that's for family reasons. Yeah, it's September and not May. That's it for me, I'm afraid, Vic. But we'll see.
If it was May and we still had 6 points, I'd be very concerned in that.
Absolutely.
Craig, give me something positive from far off Scotland.
Okay, I've been psyching myself up for this. We've got a wonderful legacy and a wonderful history. We co-own the ground, and Steve's right. It is only September, and when Macari took us up as champions with 102 points, we were about the same position as we are now.
Well, we were worse, actually.
Late September. Yep, I went away to university, and I thought, crikey, this is going to be awful. And I got to see loads and loads of wonderful games of that fantastic unbeaten away run where we. So it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? But at least we're not watching Oxford, eh?
Oh, you had to say that word, didn't you? Why did you?
Well, we've had the
that?
S word tonight, which is the one that ends in acking. So I thought I should mention the O word that ends in, that
yes.
one.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. I Falls Rush in at 9 o'clock, which may or may not be more cheerful than this. That's all I can say. It's not been a great panel for obvious reasons. I think following last week's win over Newport, we were all very happy. We'd enjoyed that. It was a really good afternoon or lunchtime, and sadly, of course, another home defeat on Saturday against Carlisle. Home away at Port Vale on Saturday. Let's hope to get something out of that. Then away at Tranmere, long old trip. Let's hope to get something out of that. And then let's get the home victory over Harrogate a week on Saturday. That's my positive take on it, Chris. I believe we will win the league this year. I am being taken away shortly. Thank you very much indeed for your comments.
Keep the faith, Vic.
Okay, Vic. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. That was brilliant. Yeah, it's frustrating, but we will get there, I'm sure. I'm a happy clapper. I don't care. I just want to clarify something that I said at the beginning of the show. The Cheltenham tickets, I meant that it was on general sale for season ticket holders. So it's the 260 points that you need to have, which is the season ticket points. It'll be Thursday that it goes on to general sale for everybody. So that's the same day as the Salford ticket. So sorry for that confusion. And thank you for Claire for pointing that out about what I'd said. So thank you very much. Next week, we have an On the Sofa. We have got Eddie Murray with us. We've got some good ones coming up. I'm in discussion with Simon Ferry to get him to come on. And we had a lovely email from Wayne O'Sullivan from Australia at the weekend. So hopefully we can sort something out. That would probably be a recorded one, but hopefully we'll get that one sorted. So we will be back next week with Eddie, and have a good week, everybody, and see everybody at Port Vale who's going. Okay, take care.
See you.
Bye.
There we go.